Okay, so hari ini kita akan teruskan dengan pembentangan pelajar untuk case study project. So I think for your information, students, today's evaluation will also be contributed by the panels. Of course, the lecturers will also mark you. At the same time, the panels are also here to mark your work as well as give feedback for all the presentation that you will be doing. Okay, for your information, Faiz dan Ya Najda, sebenarnya submission untuk report dalam 2 minggu lagi, on the 19th of July. So hari ini dia akan present dia punya slide presentation first. At the same time, I hope that the presentation today will get a feedback lah daripada both of you so that they can actually improve their work. Okay, so submissions are in 2 forms. They have a slide presentation. At the same time, dia pun kena hantar report. Okay, so yang report tu kita lewatkan sikit. So submission untuk slide presentation will be on the Wednesday. Okay, because we have 10 groups. Okay, as you all know, we have 5 projects from Bim unit. Okay, so 5 projek, kita ada 10 kumpulan. Jadi setiap kumpulan, setiap projek terdapat 2 kumpulan lah yang mengendalikan case study ni. So komponen yang dijalankan adalah komponen-komponen yang dilihat adalah berasingan lah. Maksudnya sebab tu dalam dekat dalam evaluation form tu dia ada part 1 dan part 2. So part 1 tu is basically half of the project case study and another half tu is part 2. Okay, so hari ini kita akan tengok hasil kerja daripada 4 kumpulan. So that is 4 groups. We start with KK5 dan juga MBKT lah. Tak pernah nanti students akan go to the very detail of the project. Okay, students. Okay, for your information as well, this apa ni kita punya, I would say mentor lah, your mentor for this project. These 2 persons, they have a very vast experience on Bim projects. What more your projects, because this project actually comes from the office as well. They are fully involved with the project. Okay, so let's not waste our time. Okay, then I would like to invite the first group to start off. Okay, you are given about 10 minutes to present. Okay, and maybe another 10 minutes for Q&A. Okay, yesterday ada excited nak lebih sikit 15 minutes. I said let's stick to 10 first. Okay, sebab hari ni kita 4 group je. So Engineer Faiz hari ni we are very lucky because sebenarnya on the Wednesday, Akta Najah will stay with us. On Wednesday kita ada 6 kumpulan. Sebab I tak boleh pecah 5-5 because apa ni kita sebab dia part 1 dan part 2. Okay. Oh, before I forget, I'm so sorry. Okay. I also like to introduce my colleague. Hari ni bila kita ada apa ni panel ni, all my colleagues, we are all very supportive. Kita akan datang and support one another. We have the coordinator for this project, Technologist Fahana here. Fahana, where are you? Dah tak nampak, dia blend sekali dengan student. Okay. And then you have Dr. Sakinah here. Okay, Technologist Fahana is from Architecture Program. Dr. Sakinah is from Quantity Surveyor. Quantity surveying program. Dalam subjek ni, as you all know, there's architecture students, master program year 1, which is also the 4th year lah they call it, and second year of quantity surveying student. Alright, so ada Dr. Mariti, are you here? Mungkin tak masuk lagi. Dr. Mariti is also apa ni, part of tenaga pengajar dalam ni, dan juga Dr. Farazira. Dr. Farazira, are you here? Dr. Farazira is also from QS. Adakah mungkin tak masuk lagi, but all of them are here today with us. Okay, alright, so kita start lah. So I would like to invite group 1. Okay, Robert, please, Robert is here. Take note of the time. Okay, kita bagi 10 minit dulu. Thank you.
Shall I start now? Okay. Good afternoon to our PIC, Untitled lecturers, and my fellow classmates. I am Chester Laway Chen, second year students from Quantity Surveying student. We are from Group 1. Okay. Today we would like to present our case study result about the Klinik Kesihatan Jenis 5 Sriwijaya Maran Bah. Okay, before we begin, let me introduce about my team member. Our group is formed by 7 students, where 4 students are from QS program and 3 students are from Master Architecture program. All right. In this case study project, our PIC is Encik Muhammad Faiz bin Shafi'i from JKL. Next. In the next 10 minutes, we will present about the project description, building execution plan (BEP), all right, being implementation, and also BIM model, which include the cash analysis, building quality, and costs. Next. This is a short video about our case study project. As you can see, this is the actual look of our building, and this is the top view of our building. In Klinik Kesihatan Sriwijaya, it consists of block clinic, which is the main building, pondok pengawal, garage ambulance, DMB substation, and rumah pump. But in our case study, we only focus on the main building. Now, I invite next presenter to continue the presentation.
Okay, first I will briefly go through the project description for Klinik Kesihatan Jenis 5 Sriwijaya Maran. The client for Klinik Kesihatan Jenis 5 Sriwijaya is Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia. Since the project initiation, there was no changes in client since 2012. The initial client from start planning was Klinik Kesihatan Malaysia, including Jabatan Kesihatan Negeri Pahang and Pejabat Kesihatan Daerah Maran. The contractor appointed through special tender Bumiputra is awarded to Syarikat Binaan Jaya Sepakat Sdn Bhd. For this clinic, it is a single-story clinic with 1,634 meters square for gross floor area. In this project, the procurement method adopted is in use conventional method. On the other hand, there are different type of services provided based on the classification of the klinik kesihatan. In our project, the Klinik Kesihatan Sriwijaya is jenis 5, where the services provided are outpatient department, accident and emergency department, maternal and child health department, dental department, mini lab, pharmacy, and one optional services which are health education. Moreover, the technology applied in this project is building information modeling, and this project is the first klinik kesihatan that adopted BIM. For the next slide, this is the side view for this project. The upper picture is the picture for this clinic on construction phase, and the below is the view of the clinic when construction complete. Next slide is the project cost. In this project, the client budget is 11,270,777 ringgit. Then the initial contract sum is 10,737,777 ringgit. However, due to some variation during the project, the final contract sum is increased to 10,921,756 ringgit. Next is the schedule of accommodation for this clinic. This is the schedule of accommodation for the main building. The larger area in this building is circulation area, and the following by outpatient department. Next, the pattern of occupancy and activities. This is the floor plan of our main building. Each department and area are marked different color. It can be said that the pattern of occupancy of the main building is efficient, as all rooms under the same department are designed together in the same area to enhance less movement of building user, and each department and area are connected to each other. As you can see, the registration department is located at the center of the building, and it is connected to other wings of the building. This ensures the easiness of accessibility for building user from the main entrance and the other wings. Moreover, the administrative building user from the main entrance the administrative department are designed at the back of wing of the building, which is far away from the treatment area. This provide a better working atmosphere for the worker. Next is sectional elevation. There is some sectional elevation drawing for our main building. Next, I will invite next presenter to continue the presentation.
Following will be the BIM life cycle, referring to the PEP of Klinik Kesihatan Jenis 5 Sriwijaya Maran. There are 5 stages involved. The first stage will be plan, where there will be use of similar database of the project design. Other than that, different format of database also used for different LOD. Then for build, this phrase involves the manage, monitor, and update the BIM execution plan. The parties involved will be client, UPPF, UPAK, UBIM, PPPA, BPPK, and CPAB. After that, will be maintained, where maintenance of parametric linkages will happen at all times. On the other hand, documentation of models shall not happen outside of BIM software too. For repair and amendments, the purpose are aimed towards the efficiency which able to minimize the safety risk and capturing facility record for future improvement. The last phrase is learn. It involves Common Data Environment CDA, which consists of project history that will be maintained for knowledge and regulatory for legal requirement. Next. Architects will be the BIM coordinator and BIM modeler for this project. For the BIM coordinator is to prepare families component, model, identify and solve problems, manage and rename file, ensure template and requirement are right, identifying components in LOD. While for BIM modeler, the BIM modeler is to build design model, manage and update families component, run analysis, standard drawing, and class detection. Next. While for quantity surveyor, their roles will be mainly for cost estimation. Quantity surveyor are required to estimate the cost of the project during the design phase. In this project, the quantity surveyor implements several software during the cost estimation works, such as CostX, Revit, and Civil 3D. Next, I will invite the next presenter to present the key project stakeholder.
Okay, so as we know, BEP is like a contract of a project. So everyone who involved in this project will be stated. As you can see from these key project stakeholders, mostly people will overcome like involved in all the BIM coordinations and also the designs activities. This including from architect to all the engineer, example from structural, civil, electrical, and mechanical engineer. So everyone is like cooperate together. Not only architect will do the design, but all of the people involved will do. So the only major difference is the quantity surveyors. They only focus on the BIM coordinator also and their own QS quantity surveys activities. And then lastly, the project managers will control all, like monitor all the activities, which including the BIM modeler and also the project managers. So next. Okay, like I mentioned just now, BEP is like a contract. So the main objective is all listed in the contract. So everyone will know and follow and try to must achieve the objective. And then it also indicate the scope of BIM for this project. The health clinic, it can be go further until level of detail until 500, which because the rest of the buildings is only constructed until 200 is because it is for 3D modeling purpose. So next. So as you can see from these diagrams, this is all the how the BIM is used in this project, which starting from planning stage and then design stage, construction, and then lastly the operations. Even the building is finished, but they are still using BIM for the operation stage. And next, proceed to this BIM work progress, which is also very much linked to project life cycles. So as you can see from the very first stage, receipt and registration of asset. So the people in charge will receive all the models or all the informations that get from the modeler or designers, and then evaluating all the models, and then followed by operation and maintenance, asset variations, restoring and renovation and upgrading, and lastly, report and write-off. So this is a very basic timeline for the BIM work progress. And lastly, the effect of BIM effect on project life cycle. This one will be general information which covers by three different stages, which explain how the timeline to allow the project works, so that all the people involved can finish the work in time. So next will be BIM implementations.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chaking, and now I will present about the BIM implementation. First of all, the role of BIM specialist for BIM manager in this project, Mr. Muhammad Khairi Sulaiman, is also a BIM coordinator architect. He's playing a role in manage the implementation strategy of this project, and to ensure the project team has complied with the procedures, requirements, and standards set comprehensively. Besides, BIM manager also have to provide the understanding of the strategy and implementation process to all stakeholders, and monitor the status of work process implementation by training and upskill the colleagues to master the specific software programs. Next is the BIM coordinator. BIM coordinator is responsible for reviewing and verifying the model to meet the requirement and the design in accordance with the specification. Other than that, BIM coordinator also play a role in coordinate model preparation and ensure the template used for the model preparation is correct. And the software used by the BIM coordinator in this project is Navisworks, which used to detect the problem in the model where they are clashing or not, as well as carry out the standard check to ensure the JKR BIM has followed the JKR BIM guideline and standard have been followed. Then the BIM modeler in this project will work closely together with architects and engineers in developing the design for the client. Besides, the BIM modeler also responsible in preparing the tender drawing and run the clash analysis, which lead by the BIM modeler architect, Mr. Mirzam Taiman. And the software used by the BIM modeler in this project is Revit and Navisworks to carry out the visual check for this project and to ensure there's no unintended model component. Next slide is present about the time frame of the project. The planning phase is starting from February of 2012, and it takes almost 6 months to complete the project planning. Then the design phase has taken more than 1 year, while the construction phase has taken around 3 years. Lastly, closure out phase is starting from December of 2017 until April of 2019. Next. Then I'll talk about the BIM software used in each phase. First of all, in this project, the software used in design concept phase and preliminary design phase was the same, which is the Autodesk Revit. The use of BIM software in this level of details, which is LD100, is to come out with an earthwork model as well as the site model to facilitate the design review process. And then the BIM software used in detailed design phase is Civil 3D and Tekla Structure, which are help to manage the client expectation through 3D visualization, as well as minimize the conflicts and rework at construction site due to clash analysis will be carried out in this phase. Then the construction phase, the Navisworks software started to be used at this phase to carry out phase 4D simulation.
Can you speed up a little bit? It has been 10 minutes already. So can you just flip your slide? What else do you have?
So for the next part, we have a BIM model. So for BIM model, before I jump into clash analysis, like I want everyone to note that like what mentioned by Luis just now, for this project is a pilot project. So the model for the BIM only focus on the main building, but not all the satellite building like plant room and guardhouse and all. So all this clash analysis only apply for the main building. So software used in this for clash analysis, they're using at the early stage they use Revit, and then they move to Navisworks. And the type of clash is hard and soft, I'll explain later. And based on this analysis, based on the report they have, cumulative report that I have, we can see that the most analysis being conducted is actually between structure and M&E and architect. The least one is actually between electrical, because it's not so critical, it's a small device you can adjust later towards the construction stage. And if we see the summary of clash analysis all over here, we can see that the most typical clash that we found is actually in between, again, structure and architect, and also architect M&E and structure M&E. These three things is actually the most typical clash that we found in this project. And if you see at this red line over here, this red line actually indicate the construction phase start. So you can see most of the clash analysis actually being conducted actually during the construction start, actually the first and during the first and second day of construction. And as you over here, clash analysis regarding electrical is not being done before construction start, because that thing is not critical and can be decided later during construction. And one thing I want to note that also, for all the department, actually the last clash analysis is actually conducted on 23rd of August and 29th of August for all the department over here. This date is actually about 1 year before completion of construction. So we can see a few problem on site actually being found later after the last clash analysis. And this is the example of checklist, like I mentioned just now, for hard clash and soft clash. So we can see the hard clash being used for this project is all limited the tolerance to 1 mm. So it's very sensitive. Everything that collide each other is come out as clash. So for soft clash, they all have this disclaimer, but for soft clash, they will have this disclaimer that all the item family being with the tolerance will depends on the needs and the design and function of the BIM family itself. Based on our interview with IR Fridays before this and the report of for clash analysis, we actually don't have the data or the clash that really outstanding, that really affect the cost based on the report. So what I pick one over here for isolated case, this is one of the most issue that found in the clash analysis between structure and architect. Like this issue actually over here, like our architect used to put rainwater down pipe together with the column, but you can see over here the BIM software Navisworks actually detect that it actually clash with the BIM that running across over here. So but for this issue, it's not so big. The BIM modeler just need to revise the model, just change the design rainwater bit to the side. And later we continue by Amris, and some problem explained by Amris.
So based on this project, we didn't have any BQ. So we made one example of the BQ that related to the spec and the quantity. So this case, like Rex have said before this, the clash between the column and rainwater downpipe, of course, it will affect the quantity and spec, and it will also affect the quantity in the column, like reinforcement, concrete, and the formwork. So maybe the quantity of rainwater downpipe maybe will be exceeding the actual quantity in the project. So for the next slide is, so the effect on the cost when we use this classification is the efficiency. This classification can make the planning and construction save time. Usually many construction consume so much time to solve the disputation. By detect the clash using B method, it can save a time and avoid the EOT. And at the same time, it can save cost. Okay, other than that, about the material, what we can say about the material, after we detect the clash or any problem in the plan, we can reduce the rework on site, and we can quickly solve that problem and avoid the wastage of material for the construction on site. Okay, for the safety, if we avoid one crash or accident using beam detection, we can save a lot of money. Also, you possibilities of avoiding harm by avoiding conflict for the worker. Given how common construction accident occur, the less extraneous employees work, the smaller the possibilities of expensive injury. For the next slide is about the work education of flash detection. Actually, this is the latest one with until 2016. After the 2017, there are no being used for the analysis. For example, like laluan masuk kabel bilik SDF dan trenches bilik Swiss, is total amount is 9,728.79 cents. So this kind of variation order, the model for the plan for this one is not analyzed by using the BIM software. So it work through the VO on the site. So any problem inside, just go through the variation order.
So,
So
can I jump in a little bit over here? It's like, sorry, I'm Riz. It's like I mentioned just now, because of the clash analysis only focus on the main building, so all the plant room is not being modeled and beam, so you cannot analyze. So like this issue over here, it actually affect the whole project cost because they didn't do the model for the plant room, where in the later project they found that this cable from the other plant room actually need trenches to go inside the main building. So this kind of thing did not detected because the clash analysis only focused on the main building. So you can see over here, this actually resulted into the VO, and actually this is one of the key criteria actually affect the whole EOT of the project.
yes, this VO can cost of the EOT that can make the project delay and maybe will consume a cost and time for our project. So that is the total one of the APK, arahan provider or variation order that we require in the project. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, is that all from this group? Okay, before we continue with part 2, I think kita ada some Q&A from here lah, sebab the part 2 will cover on other things, other components. So maybe we can have a Q&A first before we continue to part 2. Alright, Engineer Faiz, Architect Najda, maybe can start with Q&A.
Naj boleh ni dulu Naj.
Okay, Najda.
Ada
Tadi sekejap tadi I nampak you tulis LOD 200 up to LOD 200. It's not right. I think it's an error tu. Tolong betulkan balik.
Okay, Naj ada Naj. Before I just want to comment a little bit.
Comment a lot pun
Faiz
tak
dulu lah.
kita Najda kata Faiz dulu.
Oh, saya dulu. Okay. Alright,
Okay.
can you go back for the BEP for this project, the slide for showing your BEP?
This one?
Okay, this one Okay, I think maybe you can add because this project is a pilot project. So we start from the planning stage until stop at the handing over, and then we continue with the asset and facility management for this project. So what I see that your BEP just cover for the asset and facility management BEP. So make sure, I think you can add one more for BEP during the planning stage until handing over. So that one you need to cover because the stakeholder is not same with the asset and facility person. Okay, because we have contractors, we have design team, we have project manager, and so on. Okay, another can you show me your beam objective? Okay, this one also. What do you mention in your slide is for the asset and facility cover only for the asset objective. Maybe you need to find. We give you two BEP. The first BEP for the design, and the second BEP for the asset. So maybe you can add one more for at the post contract punya inilah BEP. Okay, next one.
Student yang ni student yang post contract BEP yang ni ada kan? It's not given, is it?
Ada, saya rasa ada. Pernah saya tengok ada.
Macam ada, tolong check balik lah. Objective tu is very important.
Okay, next one. Okay, also the work process. This one only show at the asset life cycle. but you nak cover the from the planning project life cycle you don't have any start from the planning. I think if you read the BEP the BEP for the post contract semua tu dah ada lah. You can put that one also.
Okay.
Okay, next one.
Just just a question. Did you guys know that this project there's a different modeler and there's a different designer? Are you aware of that? Like for architects, there's the from architect team there's designer and then there's also a modeler for architect. Are you guys aware?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
No. Yes.
No ke?
Especially for the key stakeholder there, from the project informations that we receive, the report did indicate people in charge. Not only the architect who designed, but all the people who involved, all the engineers involved is
like I mentioned, this one is a pilot project. So actually the like architect Najah said, this project, I think you need to mention for this presentation because this one is a pilot. So the designers the BIM modeler is not from the design team. That's why at your person who carry out the BIM modeler, BIM curator comes from the BIM unit. Okay, so maybe you need to put somewhere to show and to tell this is the pilot project. The way this BIM project is not like others. Okay, because this is the start BIM.
It's not a conventional. Yeah, it's not a conventional process like if you compare to other projects, MBKT or whatever. This is it's like there's a designer team and then there's a modeler team. Because this was the first project that JKR did for BIM. So I think you should clarify that a bit in your intro or somewhere or this. Yeah. So even yes, maybe somewhere here, I don't know, there's a design team and then there's a modeler so that people would because the outcome is it would be a bit different in terms of the design phase because as you showed earlier that the design phase was over a year or more than a year or something. So if it's done done in a proper BIM method, maybe that could be lessened if the designer and the modeler are the same people. I don't know, maybe that could be one of your conclusion, or if you compare to your friends projects.
So I think you can add one more slide, just finding what is your finding for this project, the finding for this pilot project. Is it how to improve, okay, the BIM process ke, and then the outcome ke, yang you see lah from your study, this case study kan. So I think you can add one more to show us what is the improve. Do you have that one?
We do have a section for lesson learned, but actually it covered in part 2. So for us, part 1.
Okay.
Ya, tapi Rex, I think untuk part 1, at least you kena conclude lah because you covers up to clash kan, up to clashes. Sebenarnya that coordination punya tu you boleh bincang lah sebab sekarang dia nampak macam sort of hanging. I think.
Okay, we add one conclusion slide.
Tadi ada software je. Okay, yang ni this project they are not use Stakeholder structure, they are using Orion. Can you
Okay.
And from the detail design they also using Navis work for coordination purposes. Okay. Okay, that's from me. Naj, ada apa-apa? Want to add on? For this class NSC, I think you do a better good job. But like your lecturer said, maybe you need to conclude this one. You put lah some point lah, dalam 2-3 point yang bagi tahu apa finding you here ni.
Faham.
Yeah, this one I pause this slide, the slide that you did, because you've you've put it out there that this project, the clash analysis was done when prior or during construction. It's a good way of presenting your data. But yeah, other than that, okay lah. Okay, just the conclusion lah. I need maybe
Okay,
towards
faham.
the end. We'll get it.
Okay.
Dr. Nurti, that's all from me.
Okay, all right. Dr. Sakina, do you have anything to ask on the cost part, perhaps? Yeah.
Yeah. Can you go back to your slide? You mentioned something about this one. Where did you get these data? Was it from your interview?
Yeah, from the,
Yes.
Okay.
yes, from the interview.
Oh, you got it from the interview. Okay, all right. Okay. My another thing that you need to work on is the way you presented your clash detection. You are supposed to if you're not able to do a quantification of the clash detection, at least do an estimate about the items that were, that would have impacted the cost. For example, there was an additional drain pipe, for how much? And if you looked at one by one, maybe that would not give an impact to the overall cost of the project. If you look at a collective amount of the clash detection, then that would give a larger impact to the cost of the project itself. Okay, I hope you are clear on that, on how to do the clash analysis. Okay, and I think that's all. Right.
Right. Okay, before we move on, anything, any other lecturers would like to add on or give comments? Okay, kalau tak ada kita proceed dulu. Okay, nanti kita mana-mana kita boleh patah balik, kita patah balik. Okay, alright.
Thank you. Thank you, Pina. Thank you, lecturer.
Okay. Right. I hope you take note so that you can still improve, because you are submitting your slide on Wednesday. So especially those errors, please amend it before submission. Of course, your report, we need to see more in the report. Okay. All right. Thank you, Group 1. Can I have done Group 2 to complete the story of this project? Okay.
Yes, I comment a very good evening to panels and lecturers and to all my beloved friends. Okay, so today me and my friends, we are going to present part 2 for Klinik Kesihatan Jenis 5 Srijaya Maran Pahang. Okay, so I would like to introduce our team, which is before that I would like to introduce our person in charge, which is IR Muhammad Faiz bin Syafiai. And then my team have from two major course, which is architecture and quantity surveying. From architecture, we are me and my friend, which is Helwani, and myself, Lumayan Hakim, and also my other friend, which is Yi Ching Chuan. And for the quantity surveying, Muhammad Sharul, Afiq Noor Afizan, Dr. Sin Yong, and Tan Yi King. Okay, so for this part, we will cover about the procurement process, which is what is the type of procurement and the flow chart, and the coordination workflow, which is the workflow of the project, and roles and the person in charge, and also the activities involved. And then we will cover for the cost planning, which is the value engineering and risk management, and also the lastly, which is we cover about the lesson learned, which is the process efficiency, issues and challenges, and also benefits. Okay, so for the procurement process, I would like to invite Mr. Shahrul to present this slide.
Okay, hello, Shahrul Ami here. I will explain about procurement process. Okay, for this project, we use the type of procurement is about conventional, which is in-house method. And the type of contract, this project is handled by JKR, so we use a PWD, and the type of tender contractor is about selective tender. For the organization procurement, the client, which is KKN, JKNP, and PKD. And then this project is handled by JKR, so we have a HOPT, which is head of project team, and HODT for the design team. And HOPT for this project is a unit pengurusan projek 3 cawangan kerja kesihatan, dan HODT which is a consultant like designer, architect, structure engineer, modeling unit BIM, and mechanical and electrical engineer. And for tendering part, they use a quantity surveyor from JKR, and then contractor which is Syarikat Binaan Jaya Sepakat Sedia Berhad, and we have 5 subcontractor for this project. Okay, next. Okay, about a flowchart for this project. During the planning process, the client will discuss with HOPT about a planning, about a budget and due date. After done with planning process, we will go to the design process, which is the involved team for design process is architect, unit BIM, structural engineer, mechanical and electrical, and designer JKR. Unit BIM just assist to do the modeling. And for quantity surveyor, will do the procurement and tendering process. And after that, in the construction process, we will the SO will handle about the contract and will appoint the contractor and subcontractor in this construction process. And then handover and the LPO process, which is client and HOPT will take over it. So that's all for my part. I will invite next presenter.
And then we jump to the coordination workflow. So for the coordination workflow, this is the flow for the this project, which is the BPEP from the starting, and then which is for the BPEP is considered they prepare the outline for BPEP, and also the documentation of the BPEP, and then next flow, which is the submission of mockup BIM model, and then it involves the model submission from the architect, the civil, the structure, and M&E, and then also to facilitate the design review process to manage the client expectation through the 3D visualization. And also next, which is the preliminary design, is from this phase, the activities is the special requirement analysis, and then the submission of drawing, which is from the architecture, the architect, the structure, the mechanical, M&E, and also facilitate design review. And then next, which is the next phase, is the detailed design phase, which is the submission of detailed design of BIM model, which is LOD 300, and then the submission of clash analysis, and they updated the BEP if required. And then for this phase, is still facilitate design review process. And then for the construction phase, the submission of construction BIM, which is LOD 400, will be done. And then also for the clash analysis report and the BPEP also will be updated. And then also the submission of the drawing. And then for the closure out phase, the submission of as-built BIM model, which is LOD 500, will be submitted. And then also the submission of final BPEP, submission of drawing, and then the facility record the capturing for FM system use, and to generate the documentation through models. Okay, then for roles and person in charge, I will invite Afiq.
Hi, Assalamualaikum and good day all. So for role and person in charge, as you can see on the graphic there, the client consists of 3 main organizations who send their representative. As for KKM, they send senior director, senior assistant, and director. Jabatan Kesihatan Negeri Pahang send their engineers, and also Pejabat Kesihatan Daerah Maran send their assistant director. And then we have civil and mechanical engineer and architect from UPPF, and also unit BIM also send their civil, mechanical and electrical engineer, and also the architect. Same goes to but to the UPAK, they send their civil and mechanical engineer. Let's see the next slide, please. So in this slide, they show the activity. They show the activity involved. Thanks to the group one. Group one already explain the role of BIM manager, BIM coordinator, and also BIM modeler. So in this part, they divide into three major activities, which is strategic, management, and also production. And for the strategy, the activities involved, we summarize it as a process and workflow, also the standard and implementation. These three main activities being do by the BIM manager. And for the management part, which is the activities of model audit, model coordination, content creation, and also the execution plan being did by BIM manager and with the help of BIM coordinator. And as you can see on the production, the activity which is drawing production and also modeling being done by BIM modeler and also BIM coordinator. Then I give to my next presenter.
So
Thanks.
for the cost planning part, this project does not have any value engineering and value management because the project cost is less than the 50 million. Yeah.
Then I would like to invite Miss Helwani to present for this slide.
Wait, Vivian haven't. I think Vivian will continue the risk management part.
Yeah. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Generally, risk management is crucial to identify what kind of risk for the particular project and how to manage the risk. However, based on our case study for Klinik Kesihatan project, we do not have risk management plan. As JKR stated, the project above 50 million ringgit, we have the risk management plan. That's all from me. I will invite next presenter. Thank you.
And then I will invite Yi King to present for this slide.
I think, okay, sorry, I think she got a mic problem. So I will just present on her behalf. So for lesson learned, the first one would be all disciplines should be engaged in the BIM implementations since the BIM software tools should help in producing more accurate and expeditious quantity taking off. And then the second one would be how they should have made every decision according to the schedule that has been set up in the early stage in order to help in reducing VO up to 0% if they actually follow the BIM process. And the third one, like the other buildings such as the gut house, the pump house should be done in the earliest stage, at least up until LOD 200 for the whole complete site model. The fourth one is design review and clash analysis must be done until the construction finish and not only up until or before that to prevent any error made on site. And the last one is they need to update asset information. Asset information and construction information when each part of the project is done at least a week after. In this case, where it's a pilot project, so they did not expect up until FM. So it took a longer time for them to study the process. So they gather all the information 2 years after the construction finished. Next. So for process efficiency in terms of time, cost, and productivity, as overall, it has a quite low rate of efficiency for its in terms of time, in terms of these three components, such as for architect, like the issues late decision made, and then the other buildings were not modeled up in the early stage, and for QS, how they are using manual quantity takeoff from 2D drawings and manual cost planning and cost control without using softwares. Therefore, less time efficiency and the performance. Okay, next is the issues and challenges throughout the whole project. The first one would be the collaboration with the design team, where there were rejection from other disciplines. Some contractors were not fully agreed to use the BIM software, but they tried to adapt along the way. The second one would be the BIM competency, how they're lacking of the ability to exchange information via software. because they used to traditional ways of designing, use different medium instead of adapting to the BIM software tools. And then the third one is the inconsistent drawing production, since it is a pilot project. So there were no standard template to guide the whole process, and no standard name convention was set up earlier. So they had to study the process to develop a guideline for this. And the last one is BIM not fully utilized. It is not adopted by all disciplines. So there were difficulties in the practical application of BIM. So in this case, the QS did not use the BIM in facilitating their practices because their work were mostly done manually. And next. Last one is the benefits that they got from using BIM software. First, the efficiency in collaboration with the structure and other disciplines, how the information shared on the same platform help in improving the quality of production and communication. And the second one is the design purpose is more clear, where design possibilities are easier to test, design documentation is easier to distribute across the teams. And the third one is the early involvement in BIM, where the design is more controlled and design errors are reduced, and the project and construction duration is reduced as well. And the third one is it creates a better 3D visualization, where, as I mentioned just now, other buildings could be modeled up until LOD 200 for a complete site model. And then the clients can have a 3D model of the building straight up from the software on the spot. And the last one is it produces a better and smooth process for costing and time planning, where the consultants could carry out cost-related tasks more efficiently. And then the BIM software tools would detect variations and make changes accordingly without consuming much time. And lastly, it can reduce errors in terms of costing and time. That's all from us. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Tu je. Okay, so right. Can we go with? Can we start with Q&A now? Panels.
Okay, I'd like to comment about your cost planning. If you couldn't get any information about whether value management in that case study, another angle you could look at is how was cost control carried out in the BIM project. So in any project, cost control, that there's always cost control in any project. So in BIM, how was that? How did that operate? So that could be another angle that you look at. And another thing that you could look at was also about, you can explain how BIM reduce costs. I think the last presenter did touch a little bit on how did BIM reduce the cost of the project. So you provided some examples there. So maybe you could focus the write-up more on that, okay, instead of making it a subtopic. Right?
All right. Okay. Because we did some literature review in the report on the report, so maybe we should add more on the how to reduce the cost in the project.
Yes, but your data must not come from the literature. It has to come from your case study. Okay.
Yes, right. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe kita boleh minta industri panel daripada industri untuk memberi komen.
Okay, Naj, ada Naj? Boleh boleh go balik yang masa awal slide tu berkenaan dengan sekejap Okay, next. Okay, yang ni nanti yang unit BIM tu better you letak bawah lah. You letak bawah, and then designer tu dia tak ada sebab designer tu already include from the M&E engineer and architect, structural engineer. So designer tu dia dah dalam tu sebenarnya. Dia bukan duduk bersama sekali, dia bukan berasingan.
Alright. No.
And then mechanical and electric tu maybe you need to separate because these two guys we have own cawangan lah. They have own cawangan.
Alright, noted. Thank you.
Okay, next one. Okay, coordination workflow ni. Next. Okay, this one I think you take from design and build punya deliverable ni. I think because you said model submission and then you need to submission of as-built model LOD 500. This one actually from the design and build punya project punya deliverable lah. Maybe this one you need to change to the based on the BPEP semasa pre and post contract. Okay.
Just a question again. Itulah, you guys know that the model is being updated by whom for this project during construction phase? You guys know that? Updated by whom? So tadi rasa tanya soalan yang first part tu, dia ada jawapan kat sini, but I don't know, maybe you guys don't talk to each other because I asked do you know if the designer was different to the modeler from the second part. I know that you guys know, but the first part punya presentation tak tahu. So now the question is, do you know who updates the model? Because you were talking about submission of models of LOD 500 and stuff. It's like submission to who and by whom? You guys know that? I'm just asking. No idea. Maybe part 3 tahu kot. Okay. So the models are being updated by unit BIM itself because this kalau ikutkan this project is not yang again dia a pilot project, so it's not a fully BIM punya project. So kalau proses biasa, the LOD 500 punya model ataupun will be submitted by the contractor. Contractor yang updatekan the models that are done by the designer. But for this project, the updating of information in LOD in the model is done by JKR ourselves because it's a pilot project and we're still learning from that project lah. So you guys should know that before putting in as submitting or you guys need to have a clear picture of the apa ni, person yang in charge lah.
Yes.
So
ni slide ni pun sama lah sebab slide ni pun I think macam you ada misunderstood sebab kalau tengok KKM, JKMP tu dia engineers, PKD Maran, assistant director. So this one I think dia not related to the person in charge. I pun tak tahu macam ni you dapat sebab manage and monitor semua tu. I think that one come from the design build punya R&R tu. Not particular for the in-house punya project. Okay. So yang ni pun I think you need to betulkan balik untuk role and responsible in charge ni. Sebab sepatutnya you kena tunjukkan klien tu. Dia klien tu apa dia punya ni lah. Dia bukannya buat BIM, BEP semua tu. I tengok. And then siapa dekat JKR, siapa kontraktor. Patutnya you terus bagi tahu macam tu terus. JKR dia sebagai apa, klien sebagai apa, and then kontraktor sebagai apa, subkontraktor sebagai apa. Okay, and then yang bulat dalam unit BIM BPPK tu pun saya rasa tu pun not related untuk you letak macam ni lah. Ini pun boleh buang ni. Okay, boleh tak? Faham
Faham.
Saya sebenarnya tak faham sangat this slide.
Dia silap ni, dia tak boleh salah ni. Dia cerita, ni dia gunakan design build punya R&R. Kalau tengok. And then the client tu pun patutnya dia punya roles tu bukannya senior director, bukanlah tu. Dia tak boleh tunjuk yang tu lah. Patutnya dia terus klien tu apa dia. Okay. Alright. Next.
Okay. Yeah, do you understand or not? I think this is very clear. And then the fact that this is the pilot project, kan, bila when it comes to lesson learned and all that, kan, you should be able to re-elaborate balik lah. Contohnya this model updated by JKR and it's not using the submission using the same conventional way. You kena, maksudnya this is what is it different? Sebab the problem is when you keep on having it as a general statement, general facts, tu yang dia tak berkaitan dengan project. Yang ni, all this information that you get, did you get it from your database or from other people's database yang design and build tu?
From BPEP tu.
BPEP.
Dalam tu.
Mana? Yang mana tu? Tu mesti you ambil dalam ni. Mesti ambil yang BPEP projek ni kot. Untuk FM tu saya rasa bukannya kepada projek punya masa dia design. That one. Sebab dia ada 2 BPEP projek ni. Projek yang BPEP semasa design stage tu sendiri sampai construction, and then masa FM tu yang sekarang tengah buat lah. Supposed to be this one you kena ambil yang BPEP masa awal. Okay.
Okay, boleh tolong tengok balik you have more, you still have time to update sebab kita tak nak you submit the wrong thing lah. Okay. And then I think this is also important for every group. When your part 1 and part 2 you tak communicate, kan, we can see a lot of discrepancies. Macam contohnya klien who are the BIM manager, BIM coordinator ni semua ni patutnya tak sadar lah at this point because PIC yang sama yang you contact. Kan, macam mana boleh yang group satu lain, group 2 lain. Okay, so please sit down with your group members sebab bila you submit report nanti, it will be submitted as one case study project. Okay, so kita tak nak all these mistakes. Okay, alright, group 2, thank you. Okay, please do your amendments. There's, I think, a lot of things need to be amended. Okay, go back to your group. Alright. Okay.
Thank you.
Now proceed to the last case study project for today. We have 2 groups. Okay. Yeah, can we go on to the next presentation, Eileen?
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Engineer Faiz, Architect Nur Najda, all lecturers and my fellow friends. I'm Munira from Group 3 and our case study project is Menara MBKT, which is located in Southern Breakwater, Kuala Terengganu. Next. To start off, we'd like to share a short clip showing an overview of the building.
Ni your video ke JKR punya video? Tunjuklah your own video.
Yang ni source dari YouTube.
Oh.
So this video was taken 2 months ago, so it's quite close to the current progress on site. Okay, next to share some facts about Menara MBKT. Firstly, the function of the building is to be used as the administrative center of MBKT. The building is built on reclaimed land and is located near the Kuala Terengganu drawbridge. The tender date for the project was in early 2013. Since then, the project experienced delays, which I will further explain later. There's also been an increase in project costs by over 70 million ringgit. Next. This is the timeline of the project. The project officially started in September 2013. Initially, the project was planned to be completed in September 2017, but was delayed firstly because of the change in government, hence a change in clients in 2017 from MBKT to Pejabat Setiausaha Kerajaan Negeri Terengganu. There was also a change in BIM consultants throughout the project. Delays also happened due to land issues. Since it's built on reclaimed land, the site had to go through a recovery period. The EOT happened due to the piling that took 1.5 years to complete. Supposedly 3 piles are to be completed in a day, but in this case, only 1 was built every day. The MCO also affected the project timeline as construction stopped during lockdown. However, this didn't affect the BIM workflow. And currently, the project is at about 82% completion and is expected to be handed over in October of this year. Next. So this project applies a traditional procurement method whereby conventional consultants are appointed by GKR. In this project, the implementation of BIM actually came later on when construction had already begun, as the client saw the advantages of BIM, so they requested it to be applied. Hence, a third party is appointed as BIM consultant, which is UMP Holdings, Sendirian Berhad. Next. So here are some photos of the site. On the left are photos before construction, and on the right side are photos throughout construction. Next. So the reason why MBKT is relocating is partly because of Rancangan Struktur Negeri Terengganu 2020, and also it better represents Kuala Terengganu as a bandar pesisir pantai. So this was the essence of the design brief. Besides that, the client also stresses on integration between spaces to create a systematic office setting for the occupants and a comfortable environment for the visitors. So the building is made up of 2 main parts, which is the 5-story podium and the office tower block. And a key feature of the building is the podium roof, which represents the traditional Rumah Bujang Selasa of Terengganu. Next. Next, moving on to the SOA, the building has a total of 31 floors. Some of its key spaces are the MBKT Gallery, the Banquet Hall, the Auditorium, and the Executive Lounge. Next. On the ground floor are the areas dedicated to the public, such as the cafe, the gallery, shops, and the MBKT service counter. Next. On level 1 is the banquet hall and podium parking. The podium parking is located on levels 1 to 5. And on level 6 are training, function, and meeting rooms. Next. So from level 7 onwards are private offices. The typical office layout is as such. However, there are slight variations on some levels as seen in the images on the bottom left and right. Next. So these are the elevations of the building. So the north elevation is the side that faces the drawbridge and the sea. And the south elevation is the side that faces the main road. So next, I pass on to Yiling to continue.
Good afternoon. I will start on the BEP, and first part, the project stakeholders, they are arranged in hierarchy form to form the organization chart, first by the client, which is Terengganu State Secretary, followed by the project director or project manager, which is JKR, and finally the consultants and contractors. Next, this is a typical theoretical model for BIM implementation, which will be 3 phases. First, the design, construction, then the closeout phase. However, since BIM was introduced during the early phase of construction, thus all the workload that is under the design column are pushed under the construction phase. Next, we will talk about BIM objectives and BIM deliverables that all the stakeholders will spell out the objective that they would like to achieve in this BIM project, and then they will find ways, which is the BIM deliverables, to achieve the objective that they would like to achieve. That I will say one example will be the preparation of BEP to determine the framework and the best practice to implement this MBKT BIM project. And next, I will talk about the roles and responsibilities of each stakeholders. That since, as per mentioned by Moon, the BIM consultant, which is the UMP Holdings, they are appointed to carry out all the BIM works in this MBKT project. So they will be collecting shop drawings from the suppliers, subcontractors, and contractors, as well as the detailed drawing from the conventional consultants, for example, architectural consultant and engineering consultant, to produce the BIM model. So there will be clash detection and so on. So all these processes are actually monitored by the BIM manager, JKR Terengganu, to make sure everything are on track. Next, we'll talk about the BIM work process. Upon the preparation of construction model, the BIM model, they will go on to the review on the construction model as well as coordination. And if there's clash, they will request like further design information from the contractors and the conventional consultants to have amendment on the construction model. And this cycle will go on until the model is clash-free. Then they will update the construction model. And finally, there is a as-built model to produce electronic drawings to be distributed to the contractor and subcontractors to carry on the works on site. Then we will talk about the BIM coordination and collaboration management, where in the BEP, it's clearly state that who will be the file provider, file receiver, how frequent will they share the file, and the software being implemented and the file format. This is to ease the communication process and the sharing process, as well as to avoid dispute between stakeholders. Sorry. And next we'll talk about this. This will be the typical model of how BIM is carried out from scratch from LOD 100. However, for our case, since our BIM was introduced during the construction phase, so the starting model for our BIM model will be LOD 300 and the final one will be LOD 500. And this is the diagram showing the difference between 300 and 500. And on the right will be the electronic communication procedure table that will clearly state the file coordinator for each discipline. So again, this is to ease the communication process. Next, we'll talk about quality control in BEP. So there are several components such as visual, standard, model integrity, and conflict, just to name a few. And for each component, there will be the PIC for them, for this component, and the software involved, as well as the remark, which is the objective of having this model integrity control, is to ensure the model integrity is maintained throughout the project. And next we'll talk about the naming and structure. So there's a standard format for the file naming in JKR project. This is actually to ease the tracking back of record. So when we trace back the file that is in earlier dates, we can know easily it comes to our mind which is the file that we need to track for. So for architectural model and structural model, they will be go by levels, and while for M&E models, they will be going by systems. Next, we'll talk about this, which is the IT infrastructure requirement. So in this table in the BEP, it clearly states the minimum computer specification for the BIM software. And there are actually voices from the conventional consultants during the introduction of BIM, because in this project, BIM was not planned in the early stage. So the consultant actually reject the BIM implementation because they are unfamiliar with the BIM implementation, and they've actually faced software and hardware incompetence. And the results will be the appointment of the third party UMP Holdings to handle all the BIM works, and JKR actually managed to convince and educate the consultants to fully utilize BIM in 6 to 12 months time. Next, I will pass to Ilham.
Good afternoon. For this part, the implementation, we start off with the LOD 300 because this construction is already started. So basically, we use the LOD 300 for the preparation of BPEP until the generating the BIM drawing based on the drawing. So for the LOD 400, we update the BIM construction based on the 4 discipline, and then for the and then we go to the production of the 4D model, and then for the LOD 500 as built model. This usage for the final of the construction model. So next. Okay, for the BIM scope of work, we start off with the BIM project execution. At this part, we prepare the BPEP for the approval of the deputy SO. And then for second, we go to the project preparation. So for this part, we will prepare the BIM based on the 4 discipline, architecture, civil, structure, and mechanical. And then for the third part, we go to the generating the drawing based on the manual drawing. So we go generate the drawing, extract it from the manual, and we go to the BIM model. Okay, next. And then we update the BIM construction. So for this part, we need to update because for the improvement of the LOD, and then we go to the perform clash detection. So for this part, we perform the clash detection analysis in combination with BIM construction model by using the Navis work for design coordination purpose. So we will do this analysis until there is no further clashing. And then we go to the provide 3D visualization. So for this part, we are using Autodesk 3D Max software for the usage of producing 3D walk and fly through. and also using the 3D photorealistic perspective image to see how the building should be in the realistic life. And then next, so this two last part. So at this part, we prepare and update the 4D model, also using the Nevis work to assist the Deputy SO on confirming the contractor work schedule and monitor the progress on work site. So at this part, we produce based on the planned work schedule, update based on actual progress, demonstrate a simulation, and then identify if there is a clashing and then present it during the site and technical meeting. And the last part is prepare the BIM ready as-built model. So for this part, we will using the Revit software in line with prefabricate drawing produced by contractor in terms of geometry, position, and orientation of any of each system component. So LOD should be done in LOD 500. So I will pass to Huyang.
All right. For QS role in the MBKD project, QS is responsible to come up with a realistic estimate based on the allowance given at the briefing stage. In this stage, QS will calculate the cost by using GFA method. Since the third party is appointed in this project, QS will carry out the calculation in traditional method and they will work closer with BIM consultant. And the second stage is the design development phase. QS will prepare a cost plan while scheme design has been obtained by the QS and continuously check and update to the cost plan. Next, we're going to the tender stage. QS will prepare tender document and BQ, and any variation issue will be issued in the tender addendum. The QS consultant will justify the client on the best tenderer. Then the BIM will only start to implement during the early of construction phase. QS will assist in monitoring the cost through interim valuation and payment, management of variation works, and prepare the final account at this stage. In short, QS has to be well versed in design modeling development, identify quantities at specific levels, and manipulating models. Right, I will pass to Aki.
So we continue on the roles of architect in MBKD project. So since as per mentioned by Tang, the BIM is implemented during the early construction phase, so it will fall under the contract implementation and management phase, while the early stages will be conducted in traditional way. And starting with the BIM implementation, the architect actually, they don't involve directly in the BIM implementation, but they prepare the detailed drawings for the BIM consultant to build the BIM model for architectural discipline, and they will attend the coordination meeting to discuss the clashes found and provide extra information when it's needed by the or requested by the BIM consultant. And finally, the issue of CCC and prepare final accounts in the final completion stage. And next, we'll talk about the clash detection sequence in MBKD. First, the preparation of BIM model by the BIM consultant, UMP Holdings, and they will go through the coordination process to review on the construction model and simulation. So at this stage, the stakeholders involved will be BIM consultants, JKR, and the conventional consultants, and they will go on to the clash resolution and clash analysis process, where comments on the clash or the simulation will be compiled into these two reports, the clash detection report as well as the construction simulation report, and they will go on to update the construction model according to the comments in the reports. And if there are unresolved or active clashes, this cycle will repeat until it's clash free, and they will go on to the next level. Then in MBKD project, there are actually 3 types of clashes: the hard clash, soft, and also the workflow clash, which is basing on the visualization or simulation. For hard clash, in MBKD project, the not to say significant, but most of the clashes happens on architectural versus structure and structure versus caseworks. So for architectural, there will be staircase clashing the structural components such as columns and the structural framing. And another one will be window clashing as well the structural components. And the last one is the casework. So we will go in depth. So this is the hard clash between staircase with structural components such as column and structural framing. So the levels involved are stated here. So this report is actually generated back in 2018. So currently all the clashes are being resolved now. So the possible outcome if we don't have this clash detection process will be if the construction has been happening on site, there will be hacking of structural columns, because we need to give way to the
staircase that will impose additional costs, and it will definitely affect the structural integrity of the project, prolonging the construction period as well. And this will impose additional costs on the manpower, wastage of materials, and so on. So we will talk about the next clash will be the window clashes, structural columns and beams. So again, yeah, this report was generated back in 2018, so it's currently resolved now. And just to mention that all the clashes that we mentioned, they didn't impose like additional costs on the BQ and construction costs because they are resolved before the construction phase. And yeah, the possible outcome if we have this happening outside where the window actually clashes with the column design will be involving hacking. If we won't do that, then we will be having wastage of materials because we are going to change the window design. Next, we'll talk about the casework clashing the structural components, that the possible outcome will be wastage of materials due to changing the casework design. And this is a soft clash, and interesting to mention that soft clash is actually the clash that need to be observed and discovered manually, that Navy's work won't tell you there's a clash over there because it involves tolerance between components. So for this, there's a difference in ducting and ceiling cascade height that will result in the ducting cannot reach the ceiling cascade height. They can't be connected. Then this happens on the RA1 and back in the date of 2019, and it's resolved right now. And the next soft clash will be the difference of CWHS piping clearance height on site and beam model. For the CWHS piping, they are having like 2.3 meter clearance height on site, but in the model, the pipe is actually 2525 mm above floor, measuring from the center of the pipe. So the possible outcome without using beam will be resulting in wastage of materials or involve hacking to give way to the piping. And now I will talk about the workflow clash, which is in the simulation. So there is error in project timeline projection in the simulation, such as the components on the levels above are actually built before the components on the floor below, such as the lift core on the level 1 is built before the lift core on the ground floor. This may be the mistake done by the BIM modeler or the error in contractor's work program. And yeah, this is another mistake, that is the slab and beam on the level above are built before the columns on the level below. So this happens on these few levels. And next, we will talk about the missing parts in the simulation. So from this, you can see that on level 4, they're actually missing columns that is highlighted in red. There are missing columns, but the beam and the slab are built on the level above. And there are actually a missing lift core on level 12, happens on the tower grid R to Q. So we need to check it out on what's happening in the simulation with the BIM consultants. Next, I will pass to Yip.
Okay, so I will talk about how the clash detection occurs in MBKT project affect the quantities of associated building element and the overall cost of the project. So first of all, I will take one detected clash in MBKT project as an example, which is the hard clash for architectural model versus structural model. In this clash, the staircase has clashed with the column. So this is a significant clash in the MBKT project as it occurs on every floor level. Next. So this is a comparison of quantities and cost for staircase and column before and after clash detection. In this case, after the clash is resolved, the quantities and cost for the column will remain the same, but the quantities for the staircase slab will be lesser. Therefore, the overall estimated cost will be lower compared to the situation without clash detection. Next. Okay, in this case, the BQ for the MBKT project is not provided. So we identify the quantities and specification that will be affected by the clash by referring to the BQ for the common staircase and column. Like what I showed in the previous slide, the quantities involved in the staircase and columns will be concrete, formwork, and reinforcement bar. In general, the quantities for the column are not affected, but most quantities for the staircase decrease after the clash detection and eventually lower the overall estimated cost for the project. So to sum up, clash detection is important to ensure the accuracy of quantities of building element and precision of the overall cost of the project. Yeah, I think that's all for group 3 presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add something that is interesting in our part since BIM was introduced during the early construction phase where there's actually construction work done on site. So they actually, for the team, they face a bit of difficulties in resolving the clash detection issues where the work has already been done on site, but they need to go back to the BIM model to actually amend the model. Yeah, that's all from us. Thank you.
Okay, group 3, thank you. It's too lengthy. I boleh potong markah kot, panjang sangat ni. So take note, okay. Sometimes I don't want to stop you. I pun kesian, you have done a lot of work. Okay, alright. Okay, let's hear it from the panels. Perhaps
Okay,
go
the way you present the example of clash is for me is good, but can you show the summary the apa sepanjang clash tu buat lah from daripada bila sampai ke bila tu, and then what type of clash yang you boleh summarize kan. That one you have the data or not, or just you have a sample of data?
Yeah, so we actually got the clash report from Mr. Nasmi. Clash report.
So you got all the data or just you got some of it?
We got the whole report, then we pick like the significant one that happens like in most of the floor, then we state it out in this slide.
Okay, maybe you can show us which part yang that from all the clashes you boleh tunjuk lah. Maybe yang mechanical electric need to have much more time. So that one maybe you can show rather than you give some example kan. Some as well I think is okay, but maybe you can put the overall of the clashes, and then you maybe you can the findings that you can show us. Okay, from this time to this time, this is the M&E punya clash yang banyak dibuat, ataupun structure dengan architect, I don't know. That one maybe you can show us if you have time lah. Dia ni macam mana doktor? Banyak lagi masa kalau nak ni?
Banyak.
Banyak.
Actually, untuk submission presentation, they will submit on Wednesday. But what is more important is actually the report. Yang hari ni, of course, the mistakes that yang sikit-sikit tu kita akan suruh dia ubah. Tapi untuk report tu, sebaiknya kita nak findings lah. So your feedback to panels will be very good for them, because sometimes yalah, bila dia pun kadang-kadang bila dia tak put them into, sekarang dia dah letak into one slide, so it will show their understanding. Macam contohnya group 1 tadi kan, dia nampak. So mana feedback tu, just give it to them so that they can actually improve for the report. Tempat lagi Ling, macam yang ni kan betul, I would agree. Bila kita tanya you, kenapa you pick on a selective one tu, of course kita cakap yang affect the cost, but the problem now you tak ada the data. Macam group 1 tadi, dia at least dia ada some costing punya support kan. Mungkin I guess sebab PIC dia berbaik hati dia bagi. So it depends also macam mana you minta kat PIC and so on kan. I know some informations are very discreet juga kan. Tapi contohnya bila tak ada, you can actually summarize. Macam contohnya tadi, categorize them into types ke kan, and then tengok sebelum you go into the detail of the significant ones lah yang you rasa significant. Okay, please take note lah on that point by Engineer Faiz tu. I think that will improve. Sebab untuk part 1 ni, you punya analytical part is actually on the clash, on the clashes lah sepatutnya. Okay.
Alright, take note on that. Thank you, Mr. Faiz and Dr. Yap.
Dan tadi sorry yang clash kata column dengan staircase tu pun to me it's not a big punya issue sebab column and staircase is under structure, so maybe the architect je yang salah model. So there won't be any hacking of structure columns or whatever the possible outcome that you said without BIM. So maybe you should choose another clash that is logical. Did you get me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. Because column and
Logik, yang logik lah, yang logik.
column and staircase are both designed by structural engineer. Maybe this one, maybe the architect punya location je yang tersalah. But in the end, the construction will be based on structural punya drawing, right? Do you get me? Okay. Tadi nak cakap apa? You were talking about the 4D simulation, the construction simulation. Did you I just wanted to know if you got any information on how they did this construction model, this construction simulation model. Did they get it from the contractor's CPM or was it the BIM consultant sendiri yang main letak? I just want to know if you knew that.
I think it's the BIM consultant will actually get the contractor's work program to do this model simulation.
So it's not by so you know that it's not by them lah. It's by the work program from contractor lah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Najda.
Tadi macam ada benda lagi.
Go through your slide. Click through your slide. From the beginning kan?
Okay.
Belakang dari
Okay, we start from this.
Tadi yang pasal ada garis masa tu, the timeline.
Okay.
Your timeline. Okay, okay, maybe this one you maybe you can tambah sikit lah. Dia masa duration or change of client tu dia berlaku 2 kali. First from the MBKT to the pejabat SUK and then back again to the MBKT.
Oh.
That's the story about this. Okay.
Alright.
That's why this project get too long.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing, did you guys get any info on how long did it take for the BIM consultant to model the whole thing? Did you have any info on that?
Sorry, AR, we didn't get this.
Oh, you didn't get. Okay. Because
that one you can ask Mr. Nazmi lah to get.
Because that would be that would be like it can be a reference if there would be another project that's going to use this kind of process. Then they appoint consultant they wanted to do BIM during construction. Maybe this can be a reference for future projects if this kind of thing happens again lah. But kalau the better way is for the correct procedure lah yang tapi tak apalah. At least you know that sometimes these process these cara happens because and it's good that the client insists for this, so they have the money, they can do lah if they
Maybe you can add how long the BIM model developed from the BIM consultant, and then you can add what is the cost, additional cost for doing this BIM.
I think you got that right. I think the information
that one, I rasa boleh dapat tau.
The additional
you can get it from Mr. Nazmi.
Okay, sure.
For the BIM development, how much?
Sorry, we only have
The-
like the difference in price from in costing from the initial to the final one, I guess. Yeah.
No. When the client insists to use BIM, so they appoint the third party to do the BIM. So
Yeah.
that you can ask Mr. Nazmi to get how much the cost to develop BIM model.
Oh, okay. Thank you on that.
I just want to nak tanya lah kat sini nak bagi clear sikit lah because earlier on when we have agreed that the students were given the percentages how much does the cost of BIM in total overall of the cost of project. So dia tak diberitahu the detail. Actually some of it yang memang yang third party tu memang dia orang dah ada information tu, cuma if we are to declare in the report, is it okay for JKR? Because hari tu we discussed this with yang ni hari tu.
Untuk yang ni tak apalah, untuk discussion ni you boleh ni, tapi bila dah report tu you by percentage lah.
Percentage okay. The percentage ada dekat dalam Excel. Cuba try tengok.
Ada okay.
Percentage tu ada. Cuma the total tu kita tak bagi.
Jadi that one can be the basis for others project lah kalau nak buat BIM after after design stage kan, during construction.
Alright. Then we'll go on to things.
On architectural punya background tu you dapat daripada BE tak, you found it, you find out yourself, is it? I don't think it's BEP concept.
For
where do you get all this information? Adalah from the internet, is it?
The concept for the design, is it? We got it from RAM Architect. Yeah. Moon
Okay.
the architect.
So you contacted them as well. Okay, that's good. Okay.
We have tried to contact the QS firm, but I think it's due to MCO. Then they didn't pick up the phone, and we didn't got the email replied as well. So we come up with our own BQ.
Okay, all right. As long as you don't create your own stories.
We get it from the in Architect Nashda.
Oh yeah, from your presentation, I can see that you guys get the info more like clearly. So you know what you're talking about, and then you know if you don't have the information, you'll go find it. So kudos on that. Other than that, okay, ni. Itulah, if you got the summary of the clashes, that would be like an icing to the cake.
We'll edit in. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it.
All right. Okay. Next group, the last group actually for today. I feel that it's rather short, but it's okay. Let's keep the rest for Wednesday. Sebab tak fair lah pula aku nak suruh group lain present kan, because they're not prepared, I guess, because I've told them about the arrangement. Okay, group 4.
Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to IR Muhammad Faiz and Aaron Najla, lecturers and my fellow friends. So we are we are the group 4 part 2 for the case study of Menara MKT. Our person in charge was from Procom JKR Terengganu is IR Muhammad Faiz and Syed Muhammad Nazmi and also Puan Razlin. So our group consists of 3 fourth-year architecture students and also 4 from second-year QS students. So next slide will be presented by the QS student for the procurement process.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I greet to the panelists and to all my lecturers. So for procurement process, the method of procurement method that we use in this project is in-house consultant, conventional method, and the form of contract that we use is PWD. As all of you can see from the slide, this is organization chart, which is the client is Setiausaha Kerajaan Negeri Terengganu. For the project director is JKR Negeri Terengganu. So for the consultant, there are 4 consultants, which is the architect consultant is rank architect, and Perunit AKS Sedan Berhad is appointed as a structural consultant. And for the M&E consultant is Perunit NZR Sedan Berhad. And for the QS consultant is FLA Juru Ukubah Sedan Berhad. And for the main contractor is Asset Engineering and Consultant Sedan Berhad. And under the main contractor also have a nominated subcontractor and domestic subcontractor. And for the BIM team, for the BIM consultant is UMP Holdings Sedan Berhad. And for the BIM facilitator is JKR Cawangan Pongkong.
Assalamualaikum and afternoon to everyone. Okay, so this is the flowchart of the project, where the flowchart we can divide it into 3 main stages of work, which is pre-construction, construction, and post-construction. During the pre-construction, there are 3 phases of work, which is planning, design, and tendering phases. In the planning phases, the parties involved is client and project director. So in the second phases, which is design phases, the client, project director, and design team such as QS, architects, mechanical engineering, and structural engineer are involved in this designing. And the last phases in the pre-construction is tendering phases. The parties involved is client, QS, main contractor, and project director. Moving on to the next stages, which is construction stages. The parties involved, which is project director, main contractor, and some contractor, and also the BIM team. For the last stages, which is post-construction, the parties involved is client, project director, and BIM team. So.
Next, I'll be presenting regarding the workflow coordination. So from the workflow, BIM workflow process, we can actually getting information that the BIM actually come in during the constructions, which are actually done by the UMP Holdings Sdn Berhad. So before the constructions, the construction drawings, shop drawings are actually done by the conventional consultants, such as RAM architect, and also some NSC and contractors, which in our case is main contractors is the Excel Engineering and Construction Sdn Berhad. So after during the constructions, the BIM company actually run through the constructions model coordinations and review on the constructions models, and following they will run through a request for information if there's missings, and also some clash-free checkings, and then they will continue with the update of constructions model as well as prepare as-built drawing. So the ones highlights in the rates are actually the process that involve the coordinations of workflows. Next. So for the construction model coordinations, the BIM company actually constructs 4 BIM constructions model for each of the disciplines, including architecture, structures, mechanicals, and electricals, based on the construction drawing prepared by the conventional consultants. So next they will produce a electronic construction drawing. So these are actually to tally back the conventional drawings, and then they will actually getting feedback or actually any updates from the consultants, and then update the BIM constructions model. So after all that, they will actually run the clash detections for all the disciplines using the Navisworks Manage. Next. So afterwards, they will also prepare and update for the models using Navisworks Manage. So this is models are actually used to actually assist the wakil pegawai penguasa to actually verify the contractors' work schedules and monitor the progress. So these are actually produced based on the initial planned work schedules, and then on based on the real-time site progress, and then the simulations of interior exterior constructions, as well as from a clash-free BIM constructions model. So next is a workflow in preparations as built preparations of as-built model. The coordinations come in from the as-built drawing provided by the contractor. So they actually provide build the as-built BIM models based on the as-built drawing provided by the contractor, and then making sure all the system families formed actually are same as the as-built drawings, as so that the LOD are reach LOD 500 as for the record for the features of building maintenance. Next. There's some work progress currently. It's actually approximately about 82% that's done. So it's actually scheduled to hand over to the clients on 14th of October 2021, which is this year. Next is actually the contractors and subcontractor roles in the workflow coordination. So they actually do not involve directly in the BIM modeling, but they actually provide supporting documents such as shop drawings with information such as quantity, size, shapes, verifications, so that it's actually help to achieve the BIM model until LD 400. And then for the cross-checking and alteration. Next.
Okay, good afternoon. For this MBKT project, there is no risk and value management for the project because the use of BIM came in after the project starts. Therefore, the usage of BIM only focuses on the design part. The QS did not use BIM to do the costing because the QS is not skilled in using BIM software. The QS just calculate and change the cost manually when there are design changes because they prefer to use the traditional method. Okay, that is all for me. I will pass it to the next presenter.
So for the lesson learned part, next page, please. Okay, so for the lesson learned part is first is the general common issue and the challenges of the BIM. So based on Criminal and Langar in 2017, BIM is a no purge of facility design, construction, operation, and maintenance. So these are the common challenges that that faced by the consultant when implementing BIM. So the time and cost spent for the hiring BIM modeler and coordinator, the cost spent for the BIM software license, the lack of familiarity towards BIM software, and also the complexity of the BIM. So next is the challenges and the issues that can be that's experienced from the consultants for the MBKT project. Next, the challenges are the initial stage of the project that the consultants preferred the conventional method due to lack of awareness and readiness and unfamiliarized with the BIM software, and also since the JKR insisted the BIM, so they took a few months for them to fully utilize the BIM into the MBKT project. Next, the common issue they face from the consultants are the design structure and M&E stage, where there are some soft and hard clashes where it can be identified from the BIM models. For example, the below picture here is that the lift core were built on the first floor earlier than the lift core on the ground floor. So this is how the common issue that from the design and structure in the detect from the Nevis work. Next is the project progress. The project was delayed not only due to the introduction of BIM software BIM into the project, but then the also the changing of client and the design, the recovery period of the piling works that took 1.5 years for the completion of the piling works, and also the pandemic COVID-19 where where there are only some percentage are allowed on site, and mostly the meetings were conducted online, and also and also because of the unfamiliarized of the BIM software. So next, here is how they solve the issue using BIM, when the clashes that has been identified clearly to BIM model, um, later on they will amend and also rectify by the BIM coordinator, and also do a monthly coordination meeting where the consultants will solve it whenever the issue arises. For example, the below picture is uh, the columns that was built on the first floor earlier than the ground floor, so that it needed to be amended and also be included in the report later. So next, for process efficiency, Adi will continue the presentation.
Good evening. So when they say about process efficiency, is the numerous setback and starting progression of the project since the beginning because of the change out of ownership and also the involvement of BIM and also the change of BIM consultant has indeed become a factor in the change of efficiency. But in the end, by implementing BIM, it generates a lot more of accuracy in the BIM model, and they manage to identify and resolve this issue with time saving effectiveness during the construction itself, because they managed to get it done during that stage. So I cannot. Okay, sorry. So the benefit of using BIM for problem management in terms of this consultant, that they are updating on the spot. The models are constantly sync on together. For the consultant, the architects use as for the consultants, they use as point of reference in terms of what are the variations that occurring inside, so they can put it into the costing later on. Also, this new comprehensive communication between the agency that works together during this on these projects. So the benefits is more in easier coordination for the design better, and also the change in the work culture, creating this new social cohesion, and also by having clash detection support, it helps the whole stage in terms of construction, and also in terms of modeling. It sees clearly what are these issues derives during the latter stage, and also that is easier to connect with is easier to show to the client what BIM is all about. It's about implementing the new ways and the new ideas to the people who aren't familiarized with this system. So I think that's all from our group. So thank you very much. Any
For this group, I'd like to comment about when you explain about your procurement process, you should explain it. I know you said that it's a traditional procurement system, but for this project, it's a bit different, right? It went through several stages of procurement system because they need to hire a third party to do the BIM, to do all these BIM work, to do the BIM modeling and so on. You could also talk about, were there any additional documents that the contractor had to submit to the to JKR for this project? You know, so you should talk about the differences, highlight the differences. Okay, even though it's a traditional procurement system, I think that's what is lacking from in your presentation. All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Just nak tegur kat sini, the slide ni method of procurement is not in-house consultant, it's conventional consultant. If it's in-house, then
Conventional consultant.
in-house it would be in-house done by JKR like KK5, but this is conventional consultant. So conventional consultant is we have CSA or MOA with another consultant, and then like what your lecturer mentioned before, the additional apa ni, documents, or there will be another. I think that there was another apa ni, MOA that was done with
Yeah.
BIM, the BIM consultant, right, Cik Faiz? Dengan
Yes.
MBKT ke dengan JKR ke
Dia
dengan siapa?
dengan JKR. Dia itulah maybe like Dr. Sakina said, sebab this process tak sama macam projek lain. So that's why you need to when you talk about the procurement process tu, maybe you need to show first how is the method of procurement, conventional consultant tu punya, maksud lantikan runding appointed from the JKR, okay. Is it from the JKR or is it from the client? Yang tu patutnya you need to ask the Mr. Nazmi, okay. And then when they appointed the BIM consultant, so is it the procurement is fall under the JKR negeri, or is it that one the contract just having a BO to the contractor? So sepatutnya you kena tunjuk lah, sebab this project BIM consultant appointed JKR Terengganu yang lantik, sepatutnya dia punya apa, TOR dia lah sendiri, dia ada TOR dia sendiri. So based on sebab itu, and then this one is projek negeri. Projek negeri ni the method dia tak adalah sedetail macam federal punya projek. So dia punya apa? Dia adalah MOA tapi dia tak sedetail macam apa federal punya. So that one maybe you need to tunjukkanlah kat mana procurement yang consultant punya, contractor punya, and then the BIM consultant punya lah. Itu tunjuklah klien tu di mana-mana, JKR tu siapa dia, wakil daripada technical agency, dia ni lah yang JKR yang negeri lantik. Okay, faham tak?
Baik.
No.
Alright. Okay, next one, boleh pergi next slide tak? Yang ni construction ni maybe you need to add designer juga, sebab designer pun dia pun terlibat sama masa proses. Tadi pun you pun cerita group you dengan group sebelum ni cerita designer pun dia bincang kalau ada perubahan design dia kena apa ubahan. So patutnya party involved tu termasuklah designer sekali lah dalam ni. Okay, jangan tinggal pula dia orang.
Okay. Noted.
In fact, klien pun ada time ni. Sebab bila kita mesyuarat, kalau macam tadi kita nampak perubahan. Tadi kan kita tengok ada perubahan dari segi tukaran klien kan, macam tu. Sebenarnya parti involved tu dia terlibatlah sekali klien. Dia bukannya dia indirectly lah, bukan directly. Okay.
Baik.
Okay, berkenaan dengan lesson learned tu, you cerita tu okay, but maybe sebab I tengok you tak ada ke yang nampak how to improve untuk projek-projek yang datang yang untuk how to improve if they want to use BIM during construction, ataupun your conclusion tu and then your conclusion you need to know what is your opinion? Is it better you start the BIM during construction or at the early phase? Okay, the improvement and then the conclusion lah.
Okay, thank you.
Faham tak? Improvement dalam ni.
Untuk any form of construction, any project yang akan guna in the future lah.
Yes, sebab ni you nampak ni masalah ni, sebab I tengok you cerita okay, you bagi tahu masalah macam ni, tapi better you patut tunjukkanlah apa improvement yang boleh buat untuk projek ni.
I see.
And okay, just a question. If since the BIM consultant was appointed during construction, so all the construction punya drawings semua dah ada. So I just wanted to know if the BIM models were updated by levels, and then they do clash and then give the clash report to the main consultants, or was it modeled? The whole building was modeled up. So I want to know if you guys know their strategy of doing of modeling during construction. Did you guys know
From
their
the
strategy?
clash report, I noticed that they do it by levels. So, like for example, the lift core uh, was modeled at the first floor earlier than the ground floor. So how they do it from each level. Um, then only they amend and include it in the report.
So their strategy, the thing that you found out was their strategy was modeling by levels of every disciplines, and then do the clash and give the issues to the consultant, and then after that the BIM consultant model the next level. Is it like that? How they mitigate?
That's how I assume that from the interview that
Okay.
that's how they do it.
Because this project is different from others, so it's good for you to like highlight their strategies for this project, so you guys can highlight that also, maybe. Faham ke tak faham?
Faham. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, do you have anything else? Student, do you have anything to ask in regards to your project, in regards to your work lah? Tak ada ke? Lesson learn ni tolong tengok balik lah. I mean, instead of some of these are quite very general statement, you know, you talk about incompetency, memanglah ada. Okay, tetapi kita nak dia specific to the project. You know, if you look at KK5 dengan yang ni kan, you know, it's like totally different kan. One is a pilot project, and talk about conventional pun dia dah lari sikit. So this is what you meant by addressing the case study. You know, we were actually as a we were struggling to try to give that input to the students, because I guess at the same time mereka pun baru nak absorb how BIM is done. So they can't in a way dia tak lari jugalah daripada giving out the general statement, because sometimes I don't know whether that to show the understanding.
Berapa bulan doktor semua?
Sorry?
Berapa bulan tempoh dia orang buat ni?
Projek ni kita bagi dia help me, second week of study. We have about 14 weeks, maybe 10 weeks ada ke? I think 10 weeks 2 months lah kot, about 2 months macam tu.
Dalam 2 bulan dia boleh dapat tu, okey lah coach. Okey lah.
And then some of the students ni memang first time, especially the QS. I think this is one of I'm not sure Dr. Sakina, I think this is their first BIM betul-betul BIM hands-on subject, I think I would say lah. Before this is theoretical because they are second year. Then for the architecture students, some of them of course yang coming from other university, because bila dia masuk tahun 4 tu dia coming from various university, IPTA, IPTS. Ada some of the university yang memang tak ada BIM subjects before. But what we did before we execute this case study, on the first week tu kita memang tengok dia punya background, so that to actually locate some of the good student, bukan good lah as in those student yang dah ada exposure towards BIM project. In fact ada some of them yang dah kerja because they were from practical, dia yang dah kerja pun, so ada yang involved in BIM project lah sebelum ni. So by doing so I feel that, you know, kita rasa macam it helps lah the understanding of the project tu better. So macam itulah. Okay, can you now give a general comments to everyone, because at least another 6 group belum present lagi. We will continue on Wednesday. So if you can give some tips and input lah to them, panels.
Okay, boleh dengar? Okay, yang the first one, maybe this sebab I tengok you ada 2 group kan, 2 group yang akan buat satu projek sama. Okay, maybe you need to sit down together. Jangan ada yang apa, information tu kena sama lah. The information should be the same between these 2 group. So and the relationship. So what the project information, especially for the project information, the roles and responsibility of that project, and then how the BIM execute for that project. Yang tu yang pertama. And then in term of untuk yang finding tu, maybe you can add more apa improvement yang boleh dibuat lah, sebab I tengok tadi okay bagus finding tu dah ada, maybe some improvement yang atau conclusion yang you nampak. Sebab macam contoh arkitek ni bila buat projek sebenarnya apa lagi yang kena involve lah, macam mana cara dia nak involve untuk projek. And then QS, sepatutnya apa kepentingan QS, you boleh relate kan lah kot, I tak tahu, I nampak supaya you tengok that benefit tu get boleh dapat to the QS dengan arkitek tu lah. Alright. And then okay, kalau kita tengok dua-dua projek saya tahu, kalau saya tengok dua ni kita sebab you all this group memang banyak rely to the person in charge. Okay, that's why kita tak nampak is it the contractor involvement tu tak nampak. Kita banyak cerita BIM betul, okay, tapi tak nampak sebenarnya. Kita nampak dari segi designer perubahan tu je buat, contractor involvement kita tak nampak, kita tak sentuh sangat the benefit to the contractor lah, selain daripada dia dapat prevent that rework kan, apa lagi sebenarnya dia dapat dalam dia punya projek tu. Okay, that's for me. Naj, boleh cerita sikit apa-apa?
Lah Cik Faiz dah conclude. Dah conclude penuh dah tu. Tapi tu just keep in mind that the information that you got memang is there and anybody can read it, but it's the way how you interpret or how you think beyond. I think that's what we're looking for. Not just apa data, tapi the findings are think broader a bit, maybe something like that. But overall, congratulations because you've done this case study, and it's a stepping stone lah kot for your next ke depan lah. Alright, that's all. Thank you.
Moving forward.
Moving forward.
Okay. All right. So the students today, the 4 groups, okay, whatever, I think you have done a good job. All right. Some of you have went a little bit extra. I know that some of the groups actually went to few pergi jumpa arkitek, pergi jumpa ada yang cari client and all, bukan just the PIC, which I would like to congratulate lah, to have that strength and to actually explore lah. Okay, sebab kita pun tak ada stop you know, we have the details, you can just go on. Okay, so the student did that some of them, right? So yang the 4 groups too, please now go back. I noticed there's like you all said lah, macam tak ada not just tak ada link, but sometimes the informations too, and then try not to repeat the same thing and so on, because you are going to submission, it's a whole set submission together. Okay. Other than that, I think lecturers, do you have any other things to add on so that they can improve their work on Wednesday?
Alright, Assalamualaikum. If I can add a bit, I think the two panels has discussed and also critique in detail what should you include and needs to be done, especially for the next coming project groups, okay, that will be presenting. But for those two cases that have been discussed and presented, I would love to see in terms of what have been details out by Architect Najida just now, in which these two cases are not the typical BIM cases, because you are talking about one is a pilot project and the second one would be those that adopt in the middle of the construction phase of the BIM development. So how would this differ? And what I want you to capture is that how will it be different as opposed, or if in comparison, if it's would to be adopted in a full BIM development or BIM full cases, right? So this is would be important for people to understand if they were it is being adopted partially or fully, or right in the middle of the construction phases, how will it affect the whole construction? Okay, so I think that would be from my side. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Dr. Sakina send her regards. She just have to leave at the courtesy gate. Okay. Anything else? Anu Parna, you have anything to add on?
Yeah, mine, because dah hujung kan, I think mine will be the same lah. Kesimpulan yang paling besar, the biggest conclusion from today, siapa yang belum present, okay, for those who haven't presented, you know, right? The main thing that you want to know is what you learn from that, not reporting what you study from website, internet, macam tu je. Alright, I think that's all from me.
Okay, alright. Thank you so much everyone. Before we leave, kita kena ambil gambar sebab last week Engineer Zul kata, oh dia dah balik tak ambil gambar. So okay, let's have a photo group session. Okay, ambil gambar sekali, buka video. Student ni susah sangat dah buka video.
Pasal buka video, saya kan make sure gambar muka nampak ni Muhammad Zakuan ni rasa nampak gelap je. Anik pun nampak background je.
Alright. Put on your video. Ada berapa page ni pernah? 3 page lah. Okay, so you can take all the pages. 2. I punya 3. Okay, it's alright. Okay.
Alright, I think we can take the first. You tengah ambil
I took.
Okay, so everyone just pose, okay? Smile. Because you wouldn't know which page you are in.
Okay. All right. With that, I wrap up today. Thank you so much, Engineer Faiz, Architect Nur Najda. I really appreciate your time. Ya Najda, kita jumpa lagi hari Rabu ni ya. Harap-harap tak serik lah. Okay.
Thank you, Doktor.
Okay, maaf salah silap ya.
Yeah,
Okay.
we learned a lot today. I hope so.
Bulat to all student.
Yeah. Nanti kita jemput lagi Engineer Faiz. Okay?
Oh ya, boleh. InsyaAllah boleh. Tak ada masalah.
Alright, thank you.
Dia bagus buat benda ni. Program macam ni bagus. I think kena continue lah kot.
Ya. Kalau free join lagi hari Rabu, we will welcome.
Boleh.
Okay.
Saya kena bagi talk time tu tak dapat lah kot.
Okay, tak apa. InsyaAllah there'll be other times. Ni student ni baru 4th year, baru second year. I think in the future, they are actually looking forward for this class actually. Their senior semua marah dekat I sebab kita baru buat tahun ni. So dia dah terlepas lah. So I think I don't know. They might feel the pressure, but at the same time, I think they know the importance of this subject. The knowledge of BIM, I think it's inevitable at this point now. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your time. Today is our shortest class lah ni. Panel selalunya panjang lebar. So let's keep that for Wednesday. Alright, okay, thank you. Student, if you have questions, For the Wednesday, you can stay a while. I'll stay for 5 minutes if you have any question. To panels, thank you so much. Okay, see you
Okay,
again.
thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Bye. Assalamualaikum. Bye.
Okay. Okay, so guys, do you have anything to ask ataupun for the Wednesday? Do you need anything? Do you need I tengok ada yang update something on the Padlet just now, which is not frequent. Okay, semalam I had E-Links group updating the slide, which I think is good. Okay, if you need input, you can actually do that. Okay, ada anything to ask, guys? So how is it? I mean, like, okay, especially for the 4 groups, okay. I hope at this point now, at least you learn something. Some of you may get a small project, okay, but that small project pun now you realize that it easy to really to really execute, right? I mean, this is one of the rare cases where you do a case study and you get the database and you get the person in charge, okay. Selalunya case study you pergi sendiri and you go on your own, right? So I hope in a way that it somehow helps your understanding on BIM project. So yang lebih pentingnya lepas ni is to move forward. Of course yang mana belum present slide tu akan present slide, okay. Then you have to submit your report. Okay, on your report, okay, for today, I rasa it's very clear, okay. We have 2 projects, one is KK5, one is MBKT, okay. Both project has its strength. I think you have, the panels has identified that, okay. KK5 being an in-house project, being a pilot project, all of that, dia berbeza, ada benda yang berbeza dengan conventional. So this is where kita nak you relate dia balik dalam lesson learn. Lesson learn ni is one big word tau, one big terminology that been used in BIM project. We know why? Because it's BIM is something that is evolving, it is something new. So people actually look for lesson learn in any BIM project sebab orang nak belajar daripada situ, how to do it next. Tu yang kita kata tadi, contohnya MBKT, you start dengan construction kan. I mean BIM start during construction, so how different can it be? So kalau I jadi group 3-4 tu, I will find out lah the duration and so on. Tolong check balik dengan Mr. Nazmi. Mr. Nazmi is a very nice guy, go and get information from him, okay. And in fact the first group I was me and all the lecturers were quite surprised to see you all punya the clash detection punya report where you have the costing in it, because I'm not sure if you have showed it during the progress review hari tu kan, but but to get that kind of information, it actually can really make you understand of the whole process of clash detection, at least some parts. Okay, so tolong olahkan dia balik, compose elok-elok dalam you punya report writing. Okay, alright, that's another thing that I want to actually share with you. Okay, actually this subject BIM ni is quite a pilot subject lah for us. It's a new subject for us. Okay, so to go through this, to be able to deliver this, actually it was part of my sabbatical output anyway. Okay, so memang kita study lah. So kalau anyone is saying loading berat gitu gini, memang kita dah tengok kiri kanan atas bawah, but of course we will improve in the future. Okay, that's why if you realize we have tried to get your feedback every after class, sentiasa ada feedback kan. Okay, so we appreciate your feedback. So lepas ni after sometime nanti Ilan akan buka untuk feedback. Please give in your feedback so that it will also help your juniors. Okay, at the same time sebenarnya your output daripada report ni, I am also planning to write a book. Okay, according to your project yang kita buat ni, ada 5 case study project. Me and all the other lecturers, kita akan improve the write up. Okay, but what I need from you is actually don't give wrong information. That's why itu yang I sangat tekankan. Actually bukan just because we want to write a book alone, no. For a case study project, information is important. You jangan salah sebab this is based on a real case study project. Okay, so please check your infos before you go on. Okay, you can still contact your PIC up to this point, no problem. Okay, but I will start to compose the book, of course with all of you in it as well as the those yang collect the data. Okay, so this is going to be published so that you know this will be also a guideline and a reference book for the students nanti. Okay, so tolong ambil berat, tolong ambil, jangan ambil ringan lah sebab I tak nak wrong information. Kat sini saja macam tadi kan I boleh tengok part 1 kata macam ni, part 2 kata macam ni. Macam mana? You guys are not tak duduk ke? Tak bincang sekali. Tu yang heran, PIC sama, database sama. Okay, so please try not to make that kind of mistake. If you're not sure, come back to your lecturer. So kali dah I kata, datang balik. Okay, so let us talk about it. Okay, alright. So boleh So any question tak ni? Senyap je ni.
Doctor, to be confirmed, the submission report is on 20th July kan?
19, sorry, 19.
19.
Yeah, because I heard that you will be having exam on the 22nd very close by. Yes. So I decided let's just push it on Monday. I sebenarnya pun nak Monday. I tak perasan date tu was Tuesday. So kita submit Monday je lah, senang. At this point pun I rasa many of you dah start to improve your report. Okay, untuk group 1 sampai group 4 dah boleh start to really look deep into your report. Okay, tadi important lepas ni group 6 sampai 10 bila when you do your clash detection, what is important, I think the review is important, maksudnya the overall summary. I think many of you memang dapat clash detection punya report unless those yang belum complete lah, yang project ongoing tu I understood. Okay, and so please make sure dalam report pun it is clearly state that is ongoing lah. So macam at least MBKT I think it's completed, right, the clash tu. Is it clash free already? But sometimes as they go along dia akan ada lagi lah. Okay, tapi whatever that you have to, maksudnya you summarize so far until up to that point, summarize dulu. Okay, how to do it, get the numbers of clash detections and then categorize them, architecture structure berapa, and that is one important point bila you pilih tadi. So contohnya yang MBKT tadi, when you choose the staircase tadi tu kan, it's clearly, so you kena tengok juga dia, the best is for you to get the different feel lah. Maksudnya if you can get structure M&E, that is significant lah in that sense. Okay, tapi bila you ambil tadi yang structure and structure, dia tak ada, at the end of the day you boleh ubah dalam you punya own modeling saja. Okay, it can be just design review saja, tak perlu pun actually do analysis work, do clash detection and so on. Okay, alright. So tolong take note. So if you are really listening to your friends' work today, I think there's a lot of interesting findings that you can get that actually can beef up your project as well. Okay? Ada apa lagi soalan? You all ni makin hujung, makin nak submit dah macam, hey, suara pun tak bunyi dah. Any other questions?
Hello, Doktor.
No? Tak ada dah.
Hello. Hello, Doktor.
Soalan
Doktor. Yang report tu kami kena compile ke buat asing-asing?
Report maksudnya part 1 dengan part 2 ke?
Yes.
Okay. Part 1, part 2 ni you hantar sekali. Okay. Maksud you asing-asing tu maksudnya macam mana? You hantar asing-asing, jangan hantar sekali sebabnya nanti dia akan berat. I tak nak berat-berat sangat. Tapi bila, katalah because I have some request, some student kata dia nak sekali. Maksudnya part 1, part 2 dia same format and so on. It's okay. Tapi you tak perlu hantar sekali. Maksudnya you can use the same format, it's alright. But what is more important, tolong check balik. I tak tahu. I realise that many of you yang bahagian kan, I kata kan, this I think bukan I saja kata, ramai lecturer kata, why you guys are struggling with, bila you nak bagi roles tu, you tak tahu macam mana nak bagi roles, and you tend to bagi the yang general tu. Okay, sebenarnya you tak, unless yang macam contohnya yang MBKT tadi dia tukar klien 2 kali ke 3 kali tadi, I miss that, 2 ke 3 kan, so 2 kali. Okay, so yang tu memang clear lah, maksudnya there's some tricky parts there lah. But for the rest, bila you lay out them, coordinator, BIM coordinator siapa, I think you dah boleh clear dah JKR apa satu-satu. Yang tu I tak faham kenapa masih macam confused, tak tahu. Yang macam contohnya tadi klien sampai ada 3, I don't understand that one. I thought clear cut. Okay, so yang tu bila you buat tu, I perasan ni daripada progress review lagi. Part 1 cakap klien lain, part 2 cakap klien lain. So please, okay, that is not acceptable. Okay, that is wrong. Okay, so please at least you come to a point that lepas tu sometimes I tengok, I realise kan you berlumba. I know the sialah sometimes information tu sama. Kalau you cakap pasal apa incompetency samalah kan, part 1 akan cakap benda sama, part 2 akan cakap yang sama. Tapi kalau you realise today, I think part 2 tadi untuk group number, bukan bahagian clash detection, ada bahagian yang tersun tadi, the way that, because if you realise dalam brief project memang ada tanya, so what is the question that we ask actually to explain on the activities and so on. So kalau you tengok dekat dalam part 1 ada juga cakap dia minta overall BIM overall BIM implementation ke apa ke kan, that process tu ada, tapi dalam part 2 pun ada. Tapi if you realize dalam part 2 tu dia minta the activities, okay, and these activities can be different from different project, different ni lah. Okay, so betul tak? Sebab dia ada dia punya its own context. Okay, so kalau you betul-betul baca brief project, memang you betul-betul boleh answer actually. Okay, so tolong tengok balik rather than sekarang kadang-kadang bila dah habis tu baru you nampak oh okay, macam tadilah project 1 nampak macam mana, project 2 nampak macam mana kan. Tapi sebenarnya at this point bila you dah lay out all your slide tu, you'll be able to see lah the strength of your project. Okay, lesson learn tu tolong tengok balik. Okay, lesson learn. Tapi untuk first part 1 you must conclude your study. Sebab part 1 ni kalau you tak conclude, actually you tak tahu you buat apa, you faham tak? Sebab the first part are all descriptive. So bila you conclude tu, maksud I from the coordination and onwards, maksudnya clash detection, so conclusion tu kena ada dekat situ. Okay, so bila dah bahagian lesson learn tu, you janganlah pula ambil point yang clash detection sangat. You nak ambil sikit, yes. So tu yang kata you kena sama-sama berbincang dengan you punya part 1 dan part 2. Sebab kalau tak nanti dua-dua bergaduh, dua-dua nak masuk semua information. So kita tak nak macam tu lah. We want it to be a very smooth punya, sebab sepatutnya dia tak overlap. Even bila I cakap overall BIM flow work dengan yang overall yang satu lagi, dia berbeza, dia tak sama. Yang part 1 dengan part 2. You nampak dia macam sama. Okay. Lepas tu satu lagi yang BIM procurement kan, yang part 2 tu, you start off with procurement. Yang ni banyak kali sebenarnya kita dah mention dah. Okay, satu, terminologi tu kena betul. Okay, yang tadi tu fine lah, there's some mistake. Okay, so jangan salah dah terminologi ni, apa tak faham, kita dah check dah sebenarnya in and out tapi masih ada mistake. Okay, from the BIM procurement, then you talk about BIM contractual. Kan ada sebut pasal contract kan dekat dalam part 2. Jangan lupa, jangan buat-buat tak ingat ke apa, memang ada BIM and contract. So yang procurement and contract tu patutnya it falls together lah. After you explain what type of procurement is it, then you masuk pasal all this contractual lah. Contractual tu contohnya tadi lah, clearly macam contohnya yang when you hire a third party, you start your BIM during construction. So what are the contractual contract that are involved lepas tu? Okay. Tadi dia kata adakah cukup dengan VO ataupun all this MOA. So sebenarnya benda tu ada tau dekat dalam BEPU. So tolong check balik. Alright. So jangan tertinggal yang bahagian kontrak tu pun ada. Kadang-kadang dalam bahagian kontrak tu sendiri can be one lesson learned. Yalah contohnya macam yang tadi MBKT tu can easily point out that as a lesson learned. So maksudnya kalau lepas ni a project nak start from construction BIM onwards, okay, what are the contract and what are the requirement involved? Maksudnya kena ada MOA tu, all that kena be put in your lesson learn lah. Okay, understood So I think lesson learn ni some of you masih blur. I bukan tak nak bagi you masukkan incompetency tu, tak apa, tapi that is not really an important point. Sebab orang lain akan ada point yang sama. Incompetent ni sekarang ni semua orang buat BIM incompetent at the point now lah. Kan? Okay? Alright. So itulah I rasa panjang lebar dah walaupun banyak lagi masa, tapi I want to leave you for your work. Okay, kalau tak ada apa dah Anything else? Lecturers, Madam Fana, Dr. Marati, Dr. Farah, anything to add on?
Okay.
Lepas Okay, and then on the costing tu tolong ada some of you tadi macam contohnya tak ingat group mana yang kata tak ada risk management, tak ada apa, tak ada tiga-tiga tu lah, value management tak ada apa. So sekarang I tanya, so QS student buat apa? So you jangan bagi I tanya soalan tu lah. Okay, so you must find what is it that you can report. Okay, so yalah, I mean in normal basis macam mana dia reduce the overall cost ke kan, in terms of design ke. So have some input there sebab untuk QS, I think your lecturers akan ada different, kita punya rubrik berbeza. Okay, so dia lebih kepada QS generated lah. Okay, so you make sure you ada lah bahagian input you tu. Kalau tak nanti I pun tak tahu nanti Dr. Sakinah dengan Dr. Farah nak mark you macam mana. Alright, so don't just comment. I mean, it's a finding like in a way kata tak ada, okay, less than 50 million, okay, tak ada. And then you kena explain on cost planning tu apa lagi plan lain lah. Macam tadi I notice you all just report macam tu cakap, lepas tu dah tak ada dah. So cost planning lain tu yang mana? Yang conventional tu apa? Okay, right. Okay guys. Okay, thank you so much. Madam Fana nanti tolong share recording I think it would be good for us to have a look at it. Tengok balik Okay everyone, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yap.
Okay, alright. Okay, bye bye.
Doctor.
All the best.
Thank
you lecturers.
Thank you lecturers.
Thank you. Wednesday jangan lambat Wednesday is a long day. Okay, don't be late. Bye.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.